What is up, baby? Don't hurt me. Yeah, happy Monday out there in quarantine land. Hello, Jerome's. What is going on? Kicking off this live stream, and we've done a couple of these. We actually did a live stream, I think, every day last week, but now we're going to standardize it. This week we're going to try out starting at noon Central Time every single day. See if we can build up a nice audience. I mean, it's a lot of fun. Where I like interacting with the drones. Live chat is filling up. If you want to toss us a couple bucks on the super chat, we'll make sure to answer your question as well. We're going to be answering all the questions that we put out to the community chat as well. And I don't know, we'll probably fire up a mock draft, something. Just take our minds off of the real world and life, everything that's going on right now, because you see this a lot on the Twitter machine, where there are some pretty prominent sports media figures that are really infusing politics at this moment. And I understand it. Like, there's a time and a place for it. I mean, sometimes things are just larger than sports, except I respect your guys' time. Like, I fully understand that you are here to talk about the Vikings and talk about nonsense and memes and, I don't know, probably about ribs and stuff. So I respect your time. Yeah, I'm not going to turn this into a whole political thing, even though I obviously do have my opinions on things as a red-blooded tax-paying American, but, there's much better places for that. So I'm just starting off that show on a high note. But yeah, filling up the chat, gonna give some shout outs. Also put in where you're watching from. I always love going through the rigmarole and going through where everyone is from as well. So we'll dive into a couple of these questions. And here we go. Eli Greenstein, with Everson leaving, Odenabo will clearly step in that role. But after him, there's no depth. How do you think the Vikings will address that problem, and who do you want to see in that role? Well, the thing about the Vikings is that they've always been very good about just reloading, edge rushers, and it's certainly part with Andre Patterson. Although I feel like he's going to be slightly more hands off now that he's co-regional defensive coordinator who does not call plays, but. But the Vikings, I mean, you look at, so Everson was a 4th-round pick. B-Rob was a 4th-round pick, I believe, back in the day. Then, of course, Danielle Hunter is a 3rd-round pick. Afadi Odenabo, 7th-rounder. Stephen Wedley, a 7th-rounder. So even though the cupboard appears bare at this moment in time, I mean, obviously they do really like Stacey Keeley, the UDFA tryout out of UAB. So even though we're not familiar with these names at this point, or hell, maybe they'll move Hercules Mata off of the defensive end. I mean, they may as well try something. So even though you don't really recognize the names at this point, I wouldn't overly sweat it. So next up, Tyler asks, some shout-outs. Germany, Pennsylvania, Texas. Nevada Maverick is ironically chilling in Sydney, Montana. Sure. Oregon, Southeast Pennsylvania. Des Moines, Iowa. Shout out Blake Beard. See here. The Wyatt 62. Oh, is that Wyatt McMinn? What's going on, babe? College Station. Yeah, the reason I love Jerry Jeudy because of how he tore up Texas A&M. Roll Tide. Woo. There you go, may as well. Let's see here. Chicago, Cedar Rapids, Nodak. What's going on? Hopefully you got some of that oil money, baby. Jacob Sly, Iowa City. Jerome Shalom, Iowa, 24 floors of... if you're just new to the channel, so I went to college at Winona State. Is a very fun town. It's basically a third world country with a university there. It's pretty great. I can't see to Missouri. Javier Roder, Highlight Clips, Minneapolis. Never heard it. Walden Sloan, Arkansas. So this is great. This is something I really love too, where you talk about some of the more local traditional media outlets and their audiences, basically tight-knit group, Twin Cities, Minnesota. The fact that we're reaching internationally, the fact that we're going out to a bunch of states, I always find that really cool. There, Hembob Vizia. I just wants to draft T. Higgins and Winfield Jr. That wouldn't be a bad combination. It really wouldn't be. Yeah. DC Superman Egan Skull, South Metro represent. A couple more of these. Zach Farmer, Charlotte, North Carolina. What's going on? All right. Next up. We have like 100 questions, and I've gotten to one. Tyler, do you think the Vikings will trade up in round 2 for Winfield Jr. as they have roots there? Again, I always say take the name off the jersey, take the helmet away from Winfield Jr. Just as a straight up player, I think he's great as a safety. I think he's great as a hybrid nickel slot corner, as well as just outside cornerback. I think he could function as well. So I think overall he's a great player. Yeah, I think we've said on here that I think the top of the second is going to be that sweet spot for the safeties. You look at Xavier McKinney, Grant Delpit, Antoine Winfield Jr., like even a guy like Geno Stone from Iowa. He could be late breaking, find his way into the day two mix as well. So if they did that, I wouldn't be mad at all. Max McElroy, who do you think the best available free agent that hasn't been picked up? Jason Peters on time? Robbie Anderson, if the price is right, maybe. Sure. Landon Miller, thoughts on Thaddeus Moss, not for the Vikes, but in general. I think Thaddeus Moss, he brings a lot of unique talents to the table. I don't think he was perfectly fit for the LSU offense, even though he did have a nice little run there in the college football playoffs. But I think that he is a little bit overblown because of who his dad was. But I think he could certainly become a very serviceable, very nice tight end. Do I think he's ever going to be a superstar? Probably not. But do I think he could start somewhere eventually? Sure, definitely. Number two. Could you see the Vikings running a 4-3 for the majority of the season, then switching randomly to why'd that cut off? I'm sure it's set to a 3-4. Yeah, I could certainly see that. I think the Vikings are going to run a mixed front next year. That's why versatile guys like Armon Watts, who could conceivably play every single position on a 4-3 or a 3-4 front on the D line. That's why they're so valuable. Ryan Ellis, $5 in the super chat. How are you getting your poker fix with Canterbury Park closed? You ever play online? I do play a little bit online, a little bit of PLO. What's going on? It is an undisclosed site. I don't really want to promote it at this time, but maybe we'll see. But yeah, just playing a lot less poker overall, which frankly is fine. It's fine. HuskGamer15. How does the Vikings offseason compare to others in the NFC North? What's your prediction on where they'll finish? Well, a lot of the teams have been sellers. We're going to do a video on this, just looking around the rest of the NFC North. But the Packers let a lot of players go. The Bears signed the corpse of Jimmy Graham and traded for Nick Foles. Good luck with all that. Lions signed a couple of guys. Overall, not too shook by moves that any team has or has not made. So I think as of right now, I think the Vikings and the Packers are still the cream of the division. I think the Lions will flounder. I think Patricia will be fired up this year. I think the Bears are going to go full-on splat. And I think that Ryan Pace as well as Matt Nagy are both going to be fired. I think there's going to be a bloodlet. Oh, hell, Zimmer might get fired too. So it may be 3 out of the 4 NFC North coaches get fired. And the 12-year-old boy maybe has one more year. A. Clinton, 14. Would you see the Vikings target a D-tackle one time, such as Roquan Davis, out of Bama in the second or third, regardless of Pierce and the incumbents? Yeah, I think that they will essentially go a little bit of BPA in terms of defensive tackle, because if the Vikings are looking for that straight up amazing penetrating 3-tech, ain't a lot of them in this draft, but there are some really nice meat and potato guys that can play nose, guys that can play 3-tech, although not at a high penetrating level. There's only so many Javon Kinlaws in the world, right? But also, if the Vikings are committed to moving to a 3-4 front, there are a lot of 5-techs in this group that could play inside in a 4-3 as well. So I think it's not overwhelming, but it is a pretty solid defensive interior draft. Mr. FMF Peeps. Thoughts on Everson Griffin and Linval Joseph leaving? That's a lot of leadership. That is a lot of leadership gone. I think the bloom was off the rose with Linval. I think he could have served some purpose with as a 2-down nose tackle, both in the 4-3 and a 3-4. I think he could have done that. But Pierce is obviously an upgrade. Just a younger, quicker, a little bit more penetrating presence up front. But also Everson. It does suck losing Everson, even though Afadia is ready to rock and roll, even though Daniil, I think, will move to the right side in base 4-3 looks. But also, that is a lot of leadership just gone. A lot of good veteran leadership. And Harrison has always been a guy who more led by example, not really a vocal leader. Anthony DeBar, sort of the same deal. Of course, Eric Kendricks is extremely quiet. So I don't think you necessarily have to be loud and boisterous like Everson was to be a good leader, but I'm concerned that it does fall on guys like Barr and Harrison and Kendricks now, and maybe they don't even want the job. Who knows? Jabrisky, would you ever make a group chat on Instagram to talk to fans and have everyone interact together and listen to everyone's opinions on moves, etc.? Someone's chimed in about Discord. I haven't looked into it because I'm pretty lazy. For monthly and platinum Jerome's, there is a Slack chat group, which I need to freshen up, by the way. A couple of guys in there do their things, toss some opinions around, but something we could look into. Like, I don't want to start a forum because I feel like that's extremely dated. I'm sure there's better ways to go about this. I mean, hell, maybe YouTube will add like a forum to the community page. Don't really know, but we'll certainly look into it because I do love the Jerome aspect. I do love the community aspect. I'll also got to remind myself, got to do an NRC video. Nicole Roby Coleman. That's a highlighter. I'm good at this. NRC. Also, Daniil, right D end. There you go. All right, Zach Dragon. What's our plan with Riley Reef? Do we have intention of cutting him with his big contract? At this point, I think they are going to stand pat with him. But also, I think if the Vikings land one of the top 6 tackles, especially guys who project to be on the left side, you look at Andrew Thomas, you look at Mekhi Becton, you look at Austin Jackson, you look at Josh Jones. I think that they certainly could kick Reef inside, or they may just straight up cut him because they can still save about 8. Now I got to look. Spot Rack, Riley Reef. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head because I haven't looked in like a week. Unless his salary like guaranteed at some point, which I don't think it did. Yeah, so his salary is floating out there. So his has a 10.9 base this year. Has a $13.2 million cap at 4.4 dead. So that would be beep bop up a boop 8.8. So the Vikings could free up 8.8 million if they cut Riley Reef. Potentially even more if they put him as a post June 1st cut. Because from nothing that I see, it says that. I'll just put this up. So from nothing I see here, says that his money is guaranteed at any point. So that could be benefit for the Vikings. So I think it depends on what happens in the draft, or if they do kick him in the guard, I think they will try and squeeze him for a pay cut, not a restructure, a straight up pay cut. So we'll see what happens there. Eli Greenstein again. Thoughts on the Vikings 2020 schedule after free agency? Titans, Bucks, Falcons, Saints, Cowboys, to name a few. Titans, whatever. It's Tannehill. The Bucks got extremely interesting with Tom Brady in the mix. Falcons with Treadwell revenge game. It's coming. You know it is. Saints adding Emmanuel Sanders. It's annoying. It really is. Also, Panthers. Teddy. Come on. Let's get nuts. And then the Cowboys. Whatever. Also Eli Greenstein. All right. One more from Eli. XFL players. Screw. What role will Chad Beebe play next year? None. That is all. Big sack out of every Minnesota team. Whose future looks the best as of right now? I mean, I guess I was going to say the Wolves, just because it seems like Cat is happy now that Russell is there, as well as potentially adding another piece to build their own big three. Player escapes me right now. I mean, you would say Twins, but, I mean, the Twins are built to be a regular season team. I mean, you saw how they function in the playoffs last year. Like, in the playoffs, you need 2 aces. You need 2 great starting pitchers. You need a good bullpen. Vikings are not built that way, right? Or, excuse me, the Twins, the baseball Vikings are not built that way right now, which is really unfortunate. But, yeah, I would go Wolves, Vikings, Twins, Wild, dead last. WNBA, I don't even think they're going to have a season this year. Oh, can I say Gophers? I'll say the Gophers. I think PJ Flex is doing great things there. W Vang 0013 Handy. What do you think about Quentin Dunbar? The Redskins want to trade him, and he's only 27, staying 6'2", for the never likes a quarterback. As long as the price isn't too steep, as well as depends on what he would want for an extension, because he certainly has earned one. He is on the final year of his deal. But if the Vikings could finesse it, if they're able to keep his 2020 cap hit very low, and then possible extension a couple of years, I would be for it. As well as the price isn't too steep, and also include Trent Williams, because why not at this point? All right, next up, Donovan Lee. So how do you feel about double dipping cornerback in the first 2 rounds? For example, get C.J. Henderson first, Bryce Hall falls to second, and we take him. Yeah, I would certainly be okay with that. But also, there's a number of positions I want to double dip on: offensive line, wide receiver. But yeah, if it breaks the way that you're able to get C.J. Henderson, who I think is the second best corner in this draft, out of Florida, as well as Bryce Hall, who I really love. I think he's a bit of a dark horse. Had a really terrible 2019 due to injury. But also, in 2018, he was the best cornerback in the nation pretty easily. Grabbing him in the second, certainly would have zero issue with that. Riley Coyote. If one of the top 6 left tackles and cornerbacks C.J. Henderson are there at 22, who do you take? Well, with the tackles, there's a pretty precipitous drop-off, especially guys capable of playing left tackle after the top 6. And in my mind, again, for the top 6 are Wills, Wirfs, Thomas, Jones, Jackson, Becton. That 7? No, I kind of went twice. But as far as cornerbacks, there's a top end for sure. C.J. Henderson is definitely up there. So it's Akuda, Henderson, and then pretty flat curve. But overall, I think that I would take the tackle. I mean, not even knowing who it is. Just one of those 6 names over Henderson at that point. And then just kind of hope that Henderson gets in 25. Come on. Sam Marcos. What do you think if the Vikings had enough money to bring in Jadeveon Clowney? Is Trent Williams still a possibility? Well, if they brought in Clowney, then the move to a 3-4 would be a fait accompli, because that's what Clowney traditionally has played his time in the league, is that 5-tech is a 3-4 defensive end. He's not finding the insane market that he expected, just because he's not the edge threat that a lot of people thought that he was. Like, he had 3 sacks last year. He's never had more than 10 sacks in his career. Like, he is not the edge terror that everyone expects he is. He is living so much off of that one hit that he had in the Outback Bowl against Michigan, where I forget the running back's name, where he decapitated the Michigan running back because there was an error up front. There's a miscommunication in the line, and Clowney came through with the free release. I mean, that's really all it is. He is not a $20 million a year player. He's probably not even a $14 million a year player. Spencer Tabor. So with Rhodes, Waynes, and Mack gone, would you say Mike Hughes is now our number 1, or do you believe they'll make a move for a true number 1 because Hughes, Hillboy, but I think Mike Hughes right now is your default one. And I'm still holding out hope. Obviously, he had a very down year last year, also dealt with a couple injuries towards ACL his rookie season, but I still think that there is a lot of hype, a lot of potential with Mike Hughes long term. I think Holton Hill can be great if he keeps his nose clean. I think Chris Boyd is a little bit underrated, but they're certainly going to be adding some bodies to that cornerback room as well. So overall, I'm not exceptionally worried. Brandon Schaff. In a different universe, if we had the same exact team and run first strategy except Kirk Cousins for the last few years, and instead had a more mobile quarterback that was less accurate, like Kyler, how would that work out? Well, everyone talks about mobile quarterback, which it's a bit of a misnomer because it's more a quarterback with better pocket presence. Where you look at Case Keenum, for all of his faults, like he is not as good of a quarterback as Kirk Cousins is overall. But what he is great at is sensing pressure, because he had to deal with a lot of pressure during his time with the Texans, as well as with the Rams. Like he even like died with the Rams. Remember that highlight? That was against the Vikings, wasn't it? Yeah. But the thing about Keenum is that he was able to sense pressure. He was able to step up, slide a little bit, buy a little bit of time. And yeah, you can count that as mobility. But what it really does is that it helps the offensive line, because you look at some of the pressure ratings and some of the pass blocking ratings at Keenum versus Cousins. And yeah, Keenum was pressured at a higher rate, but also generally the pass blocking grades for the offensive line under Keenum were a lot better than they are under Cousins. That's because Cousins is a statue back there, as well as he doesn't have great pocket awareness to be able to slide in and be able to buy a little bit more time and help his offensive line out. So also you go back to Tom Brady. Tom Brady is by no means a mobile quarterback, but he does have great pocket presence and is able to just slide, step up, and do all those things. Now, it's a bit of it's one of, was it a homily or a simile? It's like, Not every mobile quarterback has great pocket presence, and not every great pocket presence quarterback is a mobile quarterback. It's one of those spots. It's like back when Teddy needs a tall receiver. That old talk. It's not that Teddy needed a tall receiver per se. It's that Teddy needed a receiver who was great in contested catch situations, great at 50-50 balls. Now, in general, there is a correlation between height and that. But also you look at Stephon Diggs, who was 6 foot if he was an inch, one of the best contested catch wide receivers in the league. So it's something that gets bogged down, and it's just really nitpicking on language and stuff, but it's something that we do nowadays. But it's not so much you need a mobile quarterback, you need a quarterback with better pocket presence. But sorry, back to the question, Super Bowl. Pulford Skull. Phone rings, you're Rick Spielman, and it's Washington. They said they'll trade you Quentin Dunbar and Trent Williams for Anthony Harris and Riley Reif, and the Vikings had a 6th-round pick. What say you? Yes. I say yes, and then I slam down, spike that phone, and then I full on just like dab, if dabbing is still a thing. Well, Rick Spielman's a dad and a boomer, so I'm sure he's just catching on to dabbing now, so it's probably a thing. Yeah, if they would do that trade, I would do that in a heartbeat, in a second. Also, I think the Vikings would free up quite a bit of cap because 8.8 from Reef, that can go to Williams, which is fine. And then also 11.44 getting Harris's franchise tag off the books. Baby, yes. I would even go up to a 3rd-round pick with this, by the way. Mason Sackman. How do you feel if Anthony Harris left for Trent Williams? Yes. Oakview. Thielen is the definition of a true Minnesota Viking. He's just a local guy. He's just a local guy that's at the tavern. He's at the pub in your small hometown, and the one that has the meat raffle every Tuesday that benefits the local hockey team. Yeah, he's the guy you crack a couple of Mick Golden Knights with, and it's the type of bar that they have the Mick Golden Knight tall boys too. Yeah, they have the pounders, the 16 ounces, and he's the guy that you talk about high school football with, and he's the guy that you play a couple pull tabs with. Oh, we hit a 200. Oh, drinks on Adam. Yeah, he's that kind of guy. Travis, what are your thoughts on newer metal music? I'm not really down with some of the newer metal bands. I feel like it's like a lot of people where. It's because we talked about our theory on sports. From about 13 to 17 is the wet cement era for your sports fandom. Whatever happens in there, we sort of locked in. Like when I was 13, 98 Vikings, I really locked that in. I feel like it's the same thing for music, but I would skew that to say 15 to 25. Like that decade is the wet cement era for your music taste, because I still really like the classic metals. You look at Zeppelin, if you want to count them as metal. You look at AC/DC. You look at Ozzy Osbourne. You look at Black Sabbath. Also, Judas Priest. Metallica, obviously. Also, Pantera, Cowboys from Hell. One of the best underrated albums of all time. Actually, it's simultaneously underrated and overrated. Also, like Tool, like fitting, right? As well as Seven Dust, and that's really about it. I feel like at that point it just sort of cut off, so I haven't really been keeping up with some of the newer metal, but I'm sure that they're phenomenal. Big Sack, who's your all-time favorite Vikings player? It vacillates. It does, well, the top 5 vacillates. Number 1 for me all-time is Randy Moss. Always going to be Randy Moss. Top 5 is Moss, Carter, Jared Allen, John Randall, Antoine Winfield, and that order shifts depending on the day. Jerome Jabroni, what do you expect to happen with training camp this year with all the concerns? I think crowds will be limited. I think by that time in late July, early August, there will be more tests. There will possibly be a vaccine in the works. And I think we may have rode it out pretty decently. But yeah, if I'm a betting man, I would say I don't think it would affect the NFL. Maybe the NFL would do away with preseason, but of course that's something they've been trending towards anyways. Although the owners lose on that revenue. But yeah, I think baseball's in a lot of trouble. I don't think the Olympics will happen. I think the NBA may be waiting a while to finish the season. I think there will be no WNBA season. Same thing with hockey. Obviously they're not going to pan out. Yeah. Husgamer 15. How do you feel about Justin Jefferson, wide receiver out of LSU? I enjoy him. There's some Alshon Jeffrey-esque pieces to his game, like Alshon, like Kenny Galladay pieces to his game. I would certainly put him firmly in that second strata of wide receivers, which the Vikings came away with. Late first, early second, would not be upset at all. Samuel Becker. If you're just joining the live stream now, we're going to be firing this up every Tuesday. Try that again. We're going to firing this up at noon Central Time every single day this week. We'll see how it goes. Maybe it'll be a regular thing. Maybe we'll just meet up at noon at a lunch, grab your sandwich as you're telecommuting from work. Oh, also, by the way, it's very interesting. Like all the jobs that they said, oh, you cannot work remotely. You cannot work from home. And then all of a sudden, hey, let's work from home, everyone. Synergy. Teamwork makes the dream work. Get the hell out of here. Skip it. Samuel Becker. Do you think the Vikings should go after Justin Jefferson with our first round picks? Maybe. I like Jefferson, but obviously I love Jerry Jeudy 1. CeeDee Lamb is a close 2. I would put T. Higgins in front of Ruggs, but not by much. Then Ruggs. I really like Denzel Mims, even though he's far from a finished product. And then also, it might just be that I still romanticize about Percy Harvin and Cordero Patterson, but I love Laviska Shenault. I really do. Like, I fully understand that there's a lot of injury risk there, but just a do-it-all Swiss Army knife gadget player, that's a lot of fun for me. So I put them above Justin Jefferson as well as Jalen Reagor from TCU. He's pretty close too. There's so many good wide receivers in this freaking draft. You can't go wrong. Let's get 3 of them. Ed Toro. If Elflein put on more weight and muscle mass, do you think he can become a solid guard for the Vikings? Your thoughts? What we talked about last offseason is that it had been the first time that Elflein had been fully healthy and participate in the offseason strength program, was able to train and do all this stuff. It didn't work out. So I think he may be a lost cause at this point, but also I'm fine since he's on his rookie deal, giving him a fair shake. I don't want to hand him the starting job. A lot like the Vikings handled Treadwell last year. Like 2017, 2018, they handed Treadwell the wide receiver 3 job. Then they just yanked it in 2019. I want them to do the same thing with Elflein. He's got to earn whatever he gets. South V. Herman. We need to sign Cam Phillips at XFL today. The wide receiver. Any thoughts? Cam Phillips was the wide receiver, dominated the XFL. Would be absolutely fine bringing him in. Johnny Yang Fitness. Your thoughts on Stanford Samuel III from Florida State and the likelihood the Vikings will draft him? I've not done any research on Samuel III at all. Actually, here's my thing. I sometimes I feel like I'm going to get gaslit and someone's just going to put in a fake name. I'll be like, I do not know that guy. And they'll be like, how do you even call yourself a football guy? Well, here's the thing. I'm not a draft analyst. I'm merely a fan of the draft. So there you go. But I'm going to start doing a deeper dive on some of these cornerbacks. So I'm sure we'll get to them and we'll have a better answer for you in a little bit there, Johnny Yang. Caesar Augustus. How many years do you think Cousins will last in Minnesota on his current contract? Also, is the trade clause gone up? So the trade clause is lifted. So the next 2 years, so next off season, essentially, he is back to being tradable, which, he's got like a $45 million dead cap number next year. So it'd be tough to move. But I think he's guaranteed at least 1 year on the 2-year extension. That second year, where he has a $45 million cap at only $10 million dead. That's easy to get out of if the Vikings want to move that. Or they could extend him again. So I think as of right now, I would bet that he makes it another 2 years for the Vikings. Also, he'll be 34 by then. Max Kallenberg. Do you think we'll make the playoffs if we don't get anyone outside the draft? Yes. Yeah, I think they'll be fine. Jack Ellis. And again, if you want your keep it up with the live chat. I love seeing you guys, chatting around and going back and forth. Also, like ganging up on the odd Packer or Bears fans that randomly hops in. Yeah. Also, if you want your question answered in the live chat, send it in as a super chat, couple bucks. It's all that stuff is really good. Jack Ellis, thoughts on Gross Matos from Penn State? Only watched him against the Gophers. They play poor. Lots of mocks have us taking him at 22. Haven't seen a lot of spots where he's actually going in the first round. Again, this isn't a great edge class. Like, it's Chase Young, it's AJ Spenza, and that's kind of everyone else. Gross Matos is sort of in that third tier, mixed in there. But I mean, I don't really see him as a first round prospect. Now, second round, sure. Lang Vang. Do you have a production team because your thumbnails are top notch? No, I just taught myself how to use Microsoft Paint or Photoshop. Game of Sal. Should the Vikings go for corner, O-lineman, receiver, their first pick in the draft? Qualify depending on the board. But also, if I'm forced to answer this, I would say O-line, because the drop-off from the top-tier tackles is so great as opposed to the drop-off from the first and second tier corners to first and second tier receivers on down. It's a lot flatter curve. So I would say suture up that O-line first. Mason Sackman. Should the Vikings tank or try to make the playoffs? Super Bowl. It's going down. Kirk Cousins team. Don't worry about it. Joe Stupka. Do you think we'll bring in a cheap veteran quarterback like Tremont Williams or Jonathan Joseph? I think it's certainly going to be in the cards. No guarantee that he makes the team. But also, I think they'll do that with wide receiver as well. Michael Baez. Who would be your top choices to sign through free agency? Keep in mind our salary cap situation. Even though hashtag cap is a myth. I would be okay with Brashad Perriman if he's extremely cheap, like 1 year, $4 million. Nickel Roby Coleman, who they've been in on before, replacing Mack, putting him in the slot. That's certainly interesting to me. Ty Smith, which Vikings Hall of Famers would you like to meet and why? I think Alan Page. I've met Alan Page a couple times, just really informal, handshake, whatever. But just be able to pick his brain and talk about life. I feel like he's got some very wise and nuanced takes on everything. I want to talk to Alan Page about everything besides football as well as everything besides the law. I want to talk to him about the stock market, how he thinks about politics, how he thinks about X, Y, Z, what he thinks about history, what he thinks about who's the best Roman emperor. Is he going to go Augustus or is he going to go Trajan? I could see him going Trajan. I could see him going Vespasian too. Very underrated. It just seems like a very wise and amazing dude. Hopefully I get to do that. Money waste. How do you think about trading Quinn Dunbar? Yep. Chris Reisel, why do you think the Vikings chose to keep Sean Mannion? Is his playing style anything like Kirk's? Yeah, they're both bad. Makes me think that Kirk goes down, we might have a chance for Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, if Sean Mannion had to start for the Vikings, say Kirk Cousins got alien abducted, the Vikings are going 2-14, straight up. Yeah, but we've talked about that. Kirky, just because of his experience in Washington and him stealing RG3's job, I think deep down, either consciously or subconsciously, he's extremely paranoid about the QB too. That's why he sort of forced the team's hand to jettison Kyle Sluter. That's why he wanted slappies like Trevor Siemian and Sean Mannion and Jake Browning behind him. I think that's legit. I really do. Amaya Deshpan, possible punt return candidates. I got anxiety every time I saw a Viking field and punt last year. Well, Sherrills, I hope retires because he was really bad last year. Put Mike Hughes back there, Holton Hill potentially, BC Johnson's return punts in college before. Not Chad Beebe. I don't think Chad Beebe even sniffs this roster next year. Yeah. Maximilian, also rookie TBD. Oh, Davion Davis, the pride of Sam Houston State. Yeah, he made his bones as a punt returner back in the day. I think he could be a dark horse as well. Maximilian Blakely. What do you think about the Vikings packaging Anthony Ayers on a high day 2 pick to acquire Odell Beckham Jr.? Oh, just out of the frying pan into the fire. No. TJ all day. Would you trade our 2 firsts for Quentin Nelson? That is a hell of a question. I would do it. I would say, frick it. Quentin Nelson, come on down. Cole Andrus. Do you think we signed Kirk to an extension so that we could waive his no trade clause and trade him to the Niners? Also, could we trade some more later round picks for a high first round pick? Well, if they wanted to do that, they could have done that with a lot less cap hit, as well as I believe they were able to tag Cousins after the original three-year deal was done. But I believe that it was on the second tag number, so it was extremely absorbent number. So that could be it. But no, I actually think that they are hitching their wagons to Kirk for the long haul. Mr. Popo. Let's see the Cousins plays out his current contract. Do you see a Super Bowl within those years? No, but the team is going to be certainly interesting. Dylan Tobin. Dylan Tobin, by the way, is a monthly Jerome. Check out that little beautiful check mark right there. I'll find out how you can join. Hit that join box down below. Find out how you can become a monthly and platinum Jerome and support the channel, support the work through these interesting times. I've been kind of worried about next season with the way the offseason has gone so far, but after seeing nobody in the division has really done much, do you think they're still really going to? Yeah, I think that it's the Vikings and the Packers. I think the Lions and the Bears are. Maya Deshpande. Which do you think is more likely thought process? Number one, we have Thielen, but no established corners. Go corner in the first round. The team is centered around Kirk, so get him weapons on the outside in the first round. I'm assuming the 2 first rounds would be offensive line. Always, of course, also shout out to Francisco Anselmo, who just joined up, becoming a monthly Jerome. Thank you very much, man. I could see, well, it's always board dependent, but I could see them leaning more towards offense than they ever had before in the Zimmer regime. Of course, with Zimmer, he's always getting his toys, always sinking first and second round picks into defense, but I could see it going the other way this time around. Next up, middle school memories. Do you believe the Bills or Vikings won the trade? Nonetheless, we have no idea. Picture. I actually think that both teams won. Where I feel like the Bills, they see that the Patriots are down. I think they're going to try and make a run at the AFC East crown and potentially do some damage in the playoffs. And I mean, that defense is great, and they get a very solid receiver, top tier guy to pair with Josh Allen to get overthrown by Josh Allen. And, the Vikings get, first, fifth, sixth, and a future fourth. So I think all that sweet, sweet draft capital, I actually think that both teams could have actually won that trade. I really do. Zach is too cold. Record predictions: 11-5, staying alive, win the division, and Super Bowl homeboy. Zach Ballas. Which re-signings are still left? Where will roads be open this year? All right, so let's look at the Vikings. Vikings roster. There we go. Actually, we can just pull that up here. And yes, I use Wikipedia to look at the Vikings roster because it stays up to date, so sue me. All right, so free agents still there. So you got Amir Abdullah, Kentrell Brothers, Dakota Dozier, Everson didn't come back, Brett Jones, Cheryl's Treadwell is already gone. Oh, yeah, I just praise you for being up to date. You have Treadwell gone. I could see Abdullah back on a cheap deal. Brothers, no. I feel like they always draft the backup special teams guy, and then they just cycle through. Like I don't see Brothers necessarily getting a second contract here with the Vikings. I just really don't. Because remember having like Larry Dean and Edmund Robinson and Brandon Watts. I mean, they just cycle through those backup linebackers. Dakota Dozier, maybe I could see either or Dakota Dozier or Brett Jones back. One of the two. Probably not both at this point. And Cheryl's, I hope Cheryl's retires. I really hope he does because he was just bad last year. It would hurt my teeth to have to cut him for like a sixth time or whatever. Ben Bauman, with how the roster looks now, Eric Wilson, Ben Gedeon still soaking up a lot of time in linebacker. Do you think the Vikings surprise some people and make a big move to upgrade in the draft or free agency? Well, I mean, if Isaiah Simmons is there or Patrick Queen, I mean, value is value, right? And we said that we are always team BPA to a degree, but also with 12 picks and an amazing dude just falls in your lap, it would be a dereliction of duty if Spielman didn't at least think about him, right? Diego said, now with all the holes in the Vikings roster, what positions would you prefer to see get drafted and what positions to be resolved in free agency? Well, I don't think any more positions are getting resolved in free agency, so it's got to be the draft. I think the Vikings may end up with 6 or 7 new starters that are all rookies. Oh, boy. Eric Normal. Any truth to the rumors of the trade for Anthony Harris for Trent Williams? I started those rumors, so I don't know. Samuel Becker. How would you feel if the Vikings picked up Prince Amukamara or Tremaine Johnson? Prince is... I would be intrigued by Tremaine. I really liked his game with the Rams as well as going back all the way to Montana. But, I mean, the Jets ruined him, as the Jets are wont to do. So if they did pick up Tremaine Johnson, extremely cheap veteran minimum deal, I'd be okay. Game of Sal, who's the one free agent the Vikings should try to get? Nikel Roby-Coleman. Travis Larson. Please talk about our defensive back situation, please. We obviously need to be with first 2 picks. Well, if they keep Harris and Harrison, safety is set at least. I think Mike Hughes can bounce back. Chris Boyd is intriguing. Holton Hill can be fine. But, yeah, I think they certainly do need to invest a lot of draft capital into cornerbacks, even though, 2 years ago, everyone was mocking, the Vikings, spending all this draft capital on cornerbacks. Well, guess what? Sometimes cornerbacks just suck. Yeah. Jimbo, should the Vikings pick up Jadeveon Clowney? No. Spencer Vox. Do you think Laquan will be used enough in the Falcons system to be a potential wide receiver 4 or higher? Also, Julio should pass over 11 to Laquan Treadwell. I think that he could really find a nice little niche as a wide receiver 3 with the Falcons. I really do. Especially when they go 3 wide, Ridley working out of the slot, and then you have Julio and Treadwell on the outside. It'd be pretty good, right? And Treadwell also, the Falcons still want to run the ball. You look at Todd Gurley. You look at, who's the other running back? So Freeman is gone. Ito Smith is gone, isn't he? It really doesn't matter. But Treadwell, respect, is one of the better run blocking receivers in the game. Now, that may be extremely backhanded compliment, but it's true. It really is true. The International Olympic Committee is postponing the 2020 Olympic Games to 2021. Duh. Yeah. Next up, AMG Properties. Why does it feel like Vikings setting up Mike Zimmer up for a failure? It's all said and done. He'll be the scapegoat. We did a whole video on that this week, where I actually do think that they're not setting up for failure, but Spielman is setting Zimmer up for a massive free roll, where it's like, if Zimmer's defense doesn't get it together after you let everyone go and then patch it up with a bunch of rookie slappies, and we're like, what is a defensive genius? And then they fire Zimmer, and it's Kirk Cousins' team and Rick Spielman's team. Almighty JD, how do you feel about signing Logan Ryan? I think he'd be a little bit too spendy. But also, Logan Ryan out of Rutgers was one of the guys that the Patriots picked with all the draft picks that they got for the Cordero Patterson trade back in the day. Fun fact. It was Logan Ryan. It was Jamie Collins, a linebacker out of Southern Miss, as well as, I want to say, someone like Everett Dawkins. Yeah, don't quote me on that. Ashima Mua. Why haven't the Vikings cut Riley Reef yet? I don't know. Maybe they just can't find the blade. She's the blade and I'm just paper. Name that band in the chat. You'll get a high five. Connor Keck. Also, no Googling, no cheating. Connor Keck. Will the Vikings sign a big name veteran soon? No. What is the deal? Should we pick up Waklaski from Pitt? I don't know the name. I'll look it up later. Drew Mack. Why does that happen for Zimmer to be out of a job? I think if the defense underperforms yet again, or if the Vikings miss the playoffs, or if the Vikings start out extremely slow, like 2-5, I think Zimmer is gone. Enter the Kubiak. We all know it. Drew Smith. Do you think the Vikings will have one more big move in them in free agency? If so, is it O-line? I think it's Thuney or nothing. I really do. Julian Marker. Will there be a 2020 season? Yes. Maybe not preseason, but I think we're okay with that. Mason Sackman, should the Vikings go for Robbie Anderson? If he'll sign like a 1-year, $7 million deal, yes. If it's anything more than that, no. Mike Boucher, what happened to Marcus Epps? So Marcus Epps, 6th round safety out of Wyoming last year. He was picked up by the Eagles mid to late last season. Actually played quite a bit for the Eagles, who were just decimated in the secondary. Would be nice to have him back, though. Zach Hazley, in your opinion, what should the Vikings do with the 2 first-round picks? Move up with them both. Stand pat. Take some specific. I say stand pat and go BPA in a combination of tackle, cornerback, wide receiver. Or, if you get a trade offer that you can't refuse, opportunity to move down, or even accumulate picks for next year, I say do it. Yeti Eddie, what do you think the NFC North team record will look like? Vikings 11-5, Packers 10-6, Bears 2-14, Lions 4-12. Davis Wara, do you think the Vikings should pursue Prince Amukamara? He hasn't been good in a long time, so no. Walden Sloan, if you could put one non NFL player on the Vikings, who would it be and what position would they play? One non-NFL player on the Vikings. Oh, okay. So an athlete from another team. I would take, who would I take? Oh, Zion Williamson playing tight end / D end. Iron Man, both ways. Zealous KOG. Do you think we will take corner and wide receiver in the first round, or address the need for a wide receiver later on in the draft or through free agency? And also, with all this reloading and restructuring, what do you think? How do you think we fare against the other? I don't know. So, corner wide receiver, I don't know. They'll be in the mix in day one, day two. Address wide receiver late in the draft. I think they should address wide receiver early, grab one of the top tier guys, as well as double and possibly triple back later on through the draft. And also, I think I'm sneaky optimistic about this team. I really am. Even though a lot of the defense is gone, especially the defensive leaders, it's going to look way different than last season. And this is, yes, Kirk Cousins' team. I just think they are going to improve the offensive line. Even though it sucks that Diggs is gone, I think they'll be able to find some decent weapons to replace him. So there you go. Mason Large, do you know why Chris Carter left first things first? I have no idea. I don't watch daytime TV. Minnesota Vikings bands 28. Which Vikings player was toughest to see leave his team this free agency? It was Everson, and it wasn't really close. Just dude was an institution for a decade, and he went through a lot here with the Vikings, and he gave his heart and soul to this team, and he was amazing. He was just a very easy guy to like. He was a very top-tier player, probably a future Ring of Honor player, in my opinion. And, yeah, it just sucked to see Everson go. Trey Stallings, what do you think about Denzel Mims out of Baylor? I would love to see him purple. Love your channel. I love you, man. Just did the Denzel Mims video. It is out right now. And let's see. I want to make sure that's up, right? Anyways, I like him. I think he's certainly a physical freak. Needs a lot of refinement. Needs to work on his hands a little bit, but that's nothing that noted wide receiver whisperer Andrew Giannaco can't fix, or something. Noah Jackson, you talk about BC Johnson a lot. What's your opinion on Dylan Mitchell, and how would you compare, and who would you compare him to? Well, for me, I feel like Mitchell was a lot like Stacey Coley, where there's a lot of technical issues that need a lot of fixing, but also I thought that he was a better athlete than Ola BC. I still think so, but I don't know. Is my answer to that. MN, are the Vikings doing a mini rebuild, throwing away the 2020 season in hopes of building a stronger team in 2021? Only thing about that. No, especially with 12 draft picks. I don't think that Vikings are necessarily throwing the towel in at all, especially if 5 in the top 105 could potentially have 5 immediate day one contributors. I think this team is just changing course, changing from a defense first team to a Kirk Cousins first team. Kenny Lee, do we have a realistic chance at the Super Bowl? Why or why not? Yes. That's all. Zach Johnson, do you think we're going to make a move for a Joe Thuney or Trent Williams? Is there any scenario? We can also keep Harris if we do make a move from offensive line without kicking the. I don't think that Vikings can bring in a big-time offensive lineman without partnering with Harris, because I think it's just the easiest amount of cap to move, 11.440 of it dead, and playing the shell game with the cap at this time, I think that's the only way to do it. Also, Harris is probably the most attractive trade piece on the Vikings right now. Sam Henriksen, I've seen possible trades for either Cooks from the Rams or Watkins from the Chiefs for Anthony Harris. Thoughts? I feel like it's a win for both parties. No on Cooks and certainly no on Watkins. That is all. Chase Anglick, Christian Ponder or Laquan Treadwell. Which pick left you more disappointed? Ponder, because it's a quarterback, because he was a higher draft pick and he was supposed to be the savior. Senior Bowl MVP. And then just whiff, not so much. Young Twin. What's the deal with Chad Beebe? Is he still on the team? Do you think he stays healthy, and with the addition of the draft receivers will be good enough for Kirk Cousins to get it done? Health was always the issue with Chad Beebe. Also, frankly, I think he got by on his name quite a bit. I don't think that he is a UDFA tryout. I mean, he didn't even have a good college career, but because he's a legacy, I think that's what got him in camp. And then respect. He was doing some great things in practice. He made a couple big plays, notably week 2 against the Packers. He had that long catch and run. But I just don't see him having staying power in this league. I just really don't. Gage Sandin, favorite non-Viking player. Current favorite non-Viking player, and then I'll do like former one as well. Favorite non-Viking player right now. It's kind of tough. I would say, I actually have to think about that one a little bit. I would say J.J. Watt, except he's supposed to be a gopher tight end and went to the stupid Badgers. Oh, Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald's a pretty easy one. And then historically, favorite non-Viking player. I just, God. I just really like watching Eric Dickerson run. And there's something about like the former romanticism around running backs. Like I understand it. And even though it's a passing league now, it's really stupid to build your team around a running back. In fact, that's been true since the early 2000s, but the Vikings couldn't help themselves in 2007. But just watching like Eric Dickerson run, especially like some of those SMU highlights, amazing. Or like Walter Payton, or even like OJ Simpson, or like old Jim Brown clips. Just the way that running backs used to be, they were just amazing, just amazing. Harvey Melber. If the Vikings trade Anthony Harris this week, do they get extra cap space? Yes, $11.44 million. And so, what are your thoughts on pulling out Trifecta, Rental, Prove It, Robbie Anderson, Clowney, and either Logan Ryan or Eric Reed? I would go 2 out of the 3. I would go Robbie and Clowney if given that choice. I'm just really not buying into Logan Ryan or Eric Reed anymore. Chris, why does everyone in the Vikings organization hate Chris Thomason, the Pioneer? Is this Thomason? Actually, this would be so amazing. Also, this would be something that Thomason would do. Is just ask a question about himself with his actual first name. I know he's annoying, but he just well. To me, I like Chris. I think he's a very solid beat writer. I think he's very good at relaying the facts. But also, I mean, sometimes his tact isn't there. Like sometimes his questions are kind of annoying. Sometimes his questions are like based in, well, PFF said this or this time frame said this. So I could see how that could wear on a guy like Zimmer. Like Zimmer certainly has like a frenemy relationship with Thomason. But also, sometimes Thomason just does things that, again, lack tact. Like when he was live tweeting from Tony Sperano's funeral, which, like I understand that's newsworthy, but also, I mean, come on. But overall, again, I mean, Chris means well. I do like Chris a lot, but yeah. Charlie Laporta. Who do you think is better, Tom Brady or Joe Montana? And why? And who is the best running back in the NFL today and all time? So for me, it's Brady over Montana. I feel like Brady in clutch situations got done more than Joe. And yes, Joe is 4-0 in Super Bowls. Brady is 6-3. That's right? But also he won 2 more rings than Montana, as well as the 3 Super Bowl losses. But those, instead of Super Bowl losses, Joe Montana lost in the championship games and division round of wild cards. So don't at me. Also, I mean, Brady, yes, got to work with Belichick, the greatest head coach of all time, but also Belichick isn't necessarily an offensive-minded guy, where Montana got to work with Bill Walsh, who was the greatest and is still the greatest offensive innovator in the history of the NFL. So I think that Brady's got that going for him as well. Also, I mean, outside of Randy Moss, peak Randy Moss for a couple of years, I mean, the weapons that Brady had around him, they weren't what Joe Montana had around. I mean, John Taylor, Clark, of course, Jerry Rice, the number 4 wide receiver of all time, Roger Craig. It's pretty decent pieces there. Who's the best running back in the NFL today? Zeke, and then Dalvin. Best running back of all time. That's a tough question, because do you go default Emmitt Smith just because he's the rushing king? But, I forgot to mention Barry Sanders. I mean, Barry Sanders is certainly up there for me in terms of one of the greatest non-Vikings of all time. Just watching him be able to do insane things. Also, if you're able to find some clips of him at Oklahoma State, oh my God. Yeah, for me, Barry Sanders is the GOAT running back of all time at like 5'4". There you go. Last one, Brett Anker. In your eyes, is the Diggs trade like the Randy Moss trade? No. I think Randy Moss was obviously the bigger star. But also the haul that they got back, because the Vikings got back number 7 overall pick, Troy Williamson, also a decent starting linebacker, Napoleon Harris, as well as I think like a 7th round pick or a 5th round pick, one of the two. So Diggs is straight up value, 1st, future 4th, 5th, 6th, even though it's 22 as opposed to 7. I think it's pretty comparable value. So I think they got better value in the Diggs trade than they did with Moss. I think the Moss trade was purely emotional, just get him out of town. I think Diggs was more business-like, although the timing, after he criticized Kirk Cousins' contract, I don't think it was a mistake at all. But yeah, that's what it is. All right, so that is it. That is the chat. Should we do a mock draft? No, we'll just do a quick one. Why the hell not? All right, we'll do the draft network because that one goes faster. My Sharia Mo, sunny as a mini deal. All right, doing the Vikings. Let's go. And this is fun. Thank you guys for coming along. And all week this week at noon Central Time, we'll be doing up this live stream. And you'll also be able to catch it on demand as well. So predicted board, go fast. I want to go fast. There we go. All right, so let it run all the way at 22. Oh, Jerry Jeudy escaped. Durr. All right. So recapping: Burrow, Chase Young, Derek Brown, Isaiah Simmons, Tua, pretty standard. Herbert, 6. Chargers, Okuda to Barracuda to the Panthers. Oh, Teddy needs a tall cornerback. Tristan Wirfs, Iowa. That one hurts. CJ to Florida, second cornerback of the board. Mekhi Becton, 10 to the Browns. Ooh. CD Lamb, first wide receiver gone. Mini run on receivers. Lamb, Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy is off the board. Jedrick Wills, Andrew Thomas. Man. Decimated. Ooh, Xavier McKinney, 18 overall. Then also Justin Jefferson right in front of us. Kinlaw made all the way to 20. Shit. What a trade up for that. All right, so let's look at the big board. Delpit's there. Winfield Jr., I assume, will still be there. So Spenza's there. Josh Jones. The Penn State kid is there. Gallimore. Chenault. All right, let's look at the wide receivers first. So Chenault, Mims, Higgins, Rieger, all there. Love that. Ayuk, Pittman Jr., Claypool. This is a great wide receiver group. It really is. Cornerback-wise, Auburn, Diggs is there, although I don't think the Vikings can draft Trevon Diggs anymore. I really don't. Samuel Salinger, this is the Draft Network's mock draft simulator. In fact, we'll put the link into the chat there. All right, so looking there, Jalen Johnson, I really like. Cameron Dancer, Bryce Hall, obviously, Tony Pride. So there's a lot of, again, like we said, it's extremely deep at wide receiver, cornerback, but it is extremely shallow at tackle. So love Josh Jones, like Ezra Cleveland, like Austin Jackson. Yeah, so I'm going to go Jones. Left tackle of the future, kick Reef into left guard, probably take a pay cut. Let's go. Oh, wait, we're back on the clock again. Oh, weird. So Chenault goes to the Saints, which probably not, but that's stupid, ridiculously talented. Spenza goes to the Patriots, so they don't even take a quarterback, which Jordan Love is still there chilling. Absent the Cousins extension, I think the Vikings would and should be in on a quarterback, but no, I don't think they will be. All right, so cornerback, I'm going to wait. So Denzel Mims, who we just highlighted today, sitting there chilling. I mean, Mims and Higgins, pretty damn close to me. Chenault thrown there as well. But I'm going to go Mims. So you got your left tackle of the future. You have a massive, physical freak upside guy at wide receiver, just checking the box on two positions of need. So now, again, this is also under the theory that they keep Anthony Harris on the tag, possibly extending him. So safety less of a need. All right, so look at the big board. Austin Jackson is there chilling. Oh, do we double down? Intriguing. Ayuk, DPJ, already got one wide receiver off the board. All right, let's look at interior defensive line. All right, so Davidson, Hamilton, Richard Lawrence is there chilling. Edge guys, very cornerback. So Dancer, Bryce Hall, Tony Pride, sitting there chilling. All right. I really like Bryce Hall. I really like Dancer. I really like Arnett. Everyone is just sitting there chilling. Amick Robinson as well. I'm going to go with Dancer. All right. So now the Vikings, top three positions of need. Offensive line, wide receiver, cornerback, check, check, check. Get those out of the way, and you're into the third round. I think this is a fantastic draft so far for the Vikings. And now it really does free you up to go BPA. So let's see who is around here. So Taylor, edge from Tennessee, is out there chilling. Do you go quarterback at this point? Probably not. Right? Let's see here. Is this the time where you double back on wide receiver? I mean, because I really like KJ Hill. I think that he could do a lot of great things out of the slot, even though, yes, that is Adam Thielen's territory. Brian Edwards from South Carolina is intriguing. Of course, got Tyler Johnson later on chilling. AGG, Megatron 2.0, sitting there. I'm definitely going to go after him in the later rounds. Let's see. Do you want to go interior offensive line? Sternberg is there. Biadish, Damon Lewis, Lemieux, Kinley. Like all these are great names as well. Matt Peart. All right. So even though it does seem like we're, yeah, I'm gonna throw a bone to the interior defensive line. Taking Lawrence out of LSU. It's not a bad pick. I'm gonna circle back at guard at 105 though. I'll let the board run out a little bit. So we still have our choice. Sternberg, Biadish, etc. Gone Biadish quite a bit before. I like his versatility on the inside, but we're going to go Sternberg this time around. So right away, I mentioned the Vikings had 5 picks in the top 105, and we've already checked all the top 5 need boxes. So offensive line twice, wide receiver, cornerback, interior defensive line. So, I mean, sexy time is going on. Looking at the big board, I mean, now the Vikings really do have a lot of flexibility of what they want to do here. So look at edge. Nick Coe for show, and for Jennings is out there chilling. Okay. Cornerback. We wanted to double back on cornerback. All right, so A.J. Green, Lavert Hill, as well as wide receiver, we're going to target AGG. So we're in the 4th. Look at the big board again. Yeah, I think now is the time to pounce on the edge. So take Nick Coe for show, coming out of Auburn. All right, so now we're in the 5th round. All right, so 135 on the board. AGG, cornerback wise. All right, yeah, so cornerbacks still be there. Wide receivers, got to do it. Oh, I mean, Tyler Johnson's still there just winking at me. Gah. Can't pass it up. Sorry. Oh, I'm still going after AGG. Don't care. Do not care at all. Vikings are going to triple dip on wide receivers. They're going to triple dip the chip. Oh, no. Say it ain't so. Whoa, whoa. No. It hurts. It really does. All right, so into the 6th. Deep into the 6th. Cornerback. A.J. Green is there. Let's look at the big board just for schnitz. All right, so a lot of safeties. Oh, Geno Stone is there? Shit, yeah. What? All right, so back on the board. So look at the big board. All right, A.J. Green, come on down. Then in the 7th. I want to go back on offensive line. I really do. So Trey Adams is there, just chilling. John Runyon Jr., Charlie Heck. To your offensive line. Edge has Caddy Coughlin. God. All right, so I'm going to take the flyer on Trey Adams. Like, I know the medicals, like, don't check out, but if he is able to just, like, keep it together and stay on the field, I mean, it's the 7th round. You know, it's a pretty solid dart throw at this point. Oh, wait. Oh, wait, is this frozen now? Are we just stuck? Yeah. All right, so I guess it's not going to let us make our last two picks. But anyway, the two late seventh rounds don't really matter. But the Vikings, first round, Josh Jones, Denzel Mims come away with the left tackle of the future, and also just a physical freak wide receiver. Put on the outside, tell him to run nines, tell him to run comebacks, all that stuff. Second round, Cameron Dantzler, cornerback out of Mississippi State University, Bulldog. Oh, oh, oh. More cowbell. Loving it. He comes in, he's going to be starting right away. Rashard Lawrence, giving the interior defensive line a bone. Logan Sternberg doubling him back down. I think he and Samia eventually could be the starting guards of this team. Nick Coe for show, coming in from Auburn. A little bit of extra spiciness coming off the edge. TJ, Tyler Johnson, was somehow available there, as well as Geno Stone, safety out of Iowa. It was available in the sixth round. What? And then also cornerback A.J. Green doubling back on corners, as well as just taking a complete lotto ticket on Trey Adams, the mountain of a tackle. Mount Washington, basically. If he can stay healthy, that's something that's really could come into. This really did freeze on me. Oh, well. All right, so that is it. We've been streaming for an hour and 5 minutes, and love you guys very much. And thank you very much, Jerome, for coming along. Thank you for tossing a couple bucks in the super chat. You guys are great. As well as if you want to support the channel, click that join button down below and become a monthly or platinum Jerome. $5 a month gets you in, supports non-traditional media as we want to be. But all this week, noon Central Time, every single day, we'll be live streaming. We'll do a Q&A. We'll do a mock draft. We'll take questions from the chat. We'll do all that stuff. And it's a good time. Thank you guys so much for coming along. And if you're in quarantine right now, we're going to get through this. You guys are the best. Skull, production value.